a merge request to do with GitLab CI YAML validation, I think, if that's the right word. I'll share my screen and try not to put us into a perpetual loop. Daniel, maybe I can rely on you to tell me if it looks all right or if there's any problems.
Looking okay on my end, Lee. Thanks.
Perfect. So yeah, I need to remind myself. I think it was a fairly straightforward change, right? So I'm not familiar enough. There's a few links we'll look at in a minute, but I guess the normal process would be when we're adding functionality to the GitLab CI YAML that we would probably try and update this schema at the same time. But in this instance, perhaps that's just managed to slip through the net.
I think that, it was sort of pointed out by a merge request coach in the MR that in the documentation, it does say that we should have specs included for these changes.
But I mean, if you go back to whenever this was introduced, the ability to, use this in a CI YAML, I mean, I would have thought, but I could be completely wrong, that the process would normally be like if I'm introducing a new feature, like let's say coverage reports, I'm introducing that feature, I would imagine that I would introduce the change to this file, the schema, at the same time as I introduce the handling of that. But maybe that's not the case.
Right.
It may be that this is more of a feature of Runner or something like that. Maybe the change was to the Runner project to support this, and this is why the changes aren't part of the same MR. I'd be interested to look into that in the future to understand if there's, some improvement can be made there to maybe when we I don't know if there's another file or folder or somewhere where we can sort of say if there's any changes there, then we should highlight that there should probably be some changes here as well.
Yeah, it's sort of where got a little confused too, because it seems that this probably should have already been there. And looking back, it looks like there was a name change of performance to browser performance that introduced this feature. Somewhere in the docs, it did mention that. So I'm not sure what got lost in translation there, but and I was trying to go through the spec files to see for some of the other things what's there, what's not. But this is all new territory for me.
That's great. That's great. At least we're on the same level playing field there. So I've got a couple of different techniques. Oh, I think someone's joining us. A little bit of Marco. Sorry for the inception, Marco, but just on the laptop at the moment. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, long time no see.
When you know what, Lee, just a little background on what we're doing here too. So this was a community contribution, a first-time contributor that made this change. And in the review process, it was pointed out that there should be accompanying tests. And this was something that the community contributor wanted some help to do, for adding those tests in. And so an initiative from our team, Contributor Success, is trying to help move these MRs along by finding some help to add in tests, things like that, to just help push the MRs forward to get to being ready for review. So Lee and I trying to look at this one and see if there's ways to follow up with the test so that the contributor can get this one ready for review.
Bingo.
So, yeah, writing test is always the most fun part.
Absolutely. So the great thing is that the community contributors put like a little kind of recreation, at least some screenshots on there. So the awesome thing is if I've got GDK, managed to get GDK up and running, or hopefully have it up and running in a minute, I'm reasonably up to date on the master branch. I'm going to try creating a YAML file similar to this example here and hope that it highlights it to say that it doesn't understand it, it doesn't look valid. I'm then going to use a really cool technique that Paul, one of the front-end engineers, taught me a while back to essentially apply this diff without having to pull the branch down. and that will just apply it to the kind of latest version of master that I've got pulled down, so I don't have to worry about all the dependencies that change when you're jumping between branches that are based off of different masters. So that'll be a nice, quick, easy way, hopefully, to just recreate and show that this is working as expected. Then I kind of pointed something out in the MR that I'd quite like to kind of just take a quick look at with you both to see what your view is on it. But I noticed that the description was that it's a path to a file or list of files. So I raised the fact that, well, if it is truly a file or a list of files, then similar to this previous similar-ish, the JUnit one, actually the definition is that it's one of either a string or an array. Now I actually added that comment yesterday or the day before, and the response was that we can't actually handle a combined list of multiple reports. So I suggest, or I think I'd make a suggestion to change this wordage maybe just to be path to a file rather than list of files, because it doesn't sound like it can handle that. But we'll just make that as a suggestion. As far as I know, the author's still engaged, right, Daniel? It's just a case of not sort of being equipped to write the tests.
Right. I think, this was maybe like a 3-line MR that is evolving into more than that. So trying to take some of that burden off the community contributor
Absolutely.
here, if we can help out.
I can't remember if it was, but I had a feeling I might be thinking of another one, that it was one that was maybe even made through the web IDE. So it was, I don't need to set up a whole GDK environment. Oh no, that wouldn't have been the case actually, if they were able to verify and validate it. Anyway, let's have a look, see what we can do. So let's find, have I got a CI YAML? I don't think I have. Forgive me if I just completely overlooked it. Have we got a really, really simple one? That should do, I think. So we want artifacts, reports, browser performance. Let's try it. So artifacts, reports. Now I was expecting, do you know what? It's because I'm doing it in here, isn't it? I think I should be doing it in here. I don't think I'm going to get any, what do you want to call it? Any linting where I was before. Here we go. Perfect. That looks better. So artifacts. Oh, wow. And reports, beautiful. And if I do browser, I get nothing. If I do performance, I get something. So that also fixes rationale. So Daniel, were you suggesting that you think that this used to be performance and it's now browser performance? So this is
Right.
So
there's,
actually.
Sorry, there's just I think there's a link in the documentation. Link. Send this to you.
Yeah, lovely.
That mentioned a name change in GitLab 14.0.
There we go. Okay, so that to me actually means, again, we might have picked up on another issue maybe with this MR, but let's have a look, because it sounds as though this schema probably has performance. Here we go. So where is this? And that's really interesting. I don't know. Definition, string file list. It's all something about reusing that you don't sort of have to redefine something over and over again. Here you go. Yeah. So it does suggest that you can use an array or a string. So my actual immediate thinking, again, we'll ask the author this question, but would be all we need to do. We don't need to add that node that's been added at all, but we just need to change this to browser performance. And then
we're still seeing your browser. Were you making any changes?
Let me change what I'm. I thought I was sharing everything, but maybe not. Entire screen. Sorry, this is what I was looking at. Might make a bit more sense now. Can you see that all right?
I'm just seeing us right now.
Yeah. Now, yes.
There we go. Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, a little slow, perhaps. Yeah. So looking at this CI schema, it looks like it's already got performance in there. Rather than defining it how we're defining it in here as a string with a description, we're actually using this kind of ref, and we're kind of almost what would I call it, drying up the code, because we've got this cool definition of a string file list, which means we don't have to keep repeating ourselves by saying it's one of this or this. Now, I may be completely missing the point, so we'll have to do a bit more digging. But my suspicion is that all we need to do is change to that. If we're actually supporting both for a period of time, then I would probably duplicate it.
Yeah, just to jump in, the linked MR there, linked issue there talked about that it was possibly a breaking change of changing the name, and I don't know if that was resolved or not. If there's any way of if we change this now, will that harm anyone still using an older version?
So yeah, there's a couple of things there. First thing, as I understand it, that well, let's have a look on here. So artifacts report should be a hash. So let's do performance. And I think there should just be some path file. Right, so that's happy. But in all honesty, let's just. Oh, so that's interesting. That's actually not complaining. So it sort of says I don't really understand it, but it's still saying the syntax is correct. So my understanding is that this won't necessarily break or fix anything. It's more of a UX and more of a cosmetic thing, if that makes sense. The underlying code change, which hopefully if we read up on some of these, we'll understand in a minute to see whether it is actually a breaking change that's already been made or it's going to be made imminently, and to understand if we need to support both of these through the user interface or whether we just need to remove the old one and replace it with a new one. So this is the author of the merge request, so they actually raised it.
Did you? I'm sorry, I meant I sent you another in the private chat here, another issue. If you can see that.
No, these are both the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah, it was linked from the documentation.
Let's have a look. Okay, yeah, this is what we're looking for. Spot on, thank you. Rename default browser performance testing job name. So the default job name is currently named. So it's not a job name though, so I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but let's read on anyway. After several attempts in the MR to change it to the intended browser, it was concluded to not be feasible. as well as maintain backwards compatibility with users who are using the performance job. So these aren't jobs, or not. That's not my interpretation of it anyway. These are reports. I guess. How can I actually find? I guess I just need to. Oh, no, because I need runner set up to actually validate it. I tell you what I should do. I should look at this, which is what you sent me a link to a minute ago. So artifacts report. So browser performance is on there. Performance isn't. So as far as I'm concerned, its performance is no longer valid. So this change is all that's probably needed. So rather than the addition on this merge request to add this new browser performance section, let's just see if these are alphabetical. No, they're not. So I don't know that I'm going to, well, CD, L, S, D. No, I don't think they are. So I don't think I'm going to move it. I think I'm just going to rename it. I will go back to the documentation just to see if it does suggest. Oh, here you go. Yeah. So as you said, name changed in 14.0.
By the way, I think that the job word on that issue is a small error, because also on the release post item, they were talking about renaming the browser performance test job to from performance to browser performance. So I think we might be talking about the same thing.
Rename browser performance template jobs. Let's have a look at the actual MR. Maybe there've been two things. No, yeah, you're right. They're not jobs, are they? They're just reports. Weird.
Yeah, I think they may be confused a little bit.
Okay, well, I think that's all good as far as I'm concerned. Like this is, I'm fairly confident as this being a sort of single source of truth, so to speak. I don't want to open this can of worms, but it does make me wonder why this isn't generated from this. Like we generate our GraphQL documentation from the schema. That would be pretty awesome, but never mind.
Is that schema file used to validate the YAML from the backend, for example, when they run the jobs, or only to validate the YAML installed by the editor?
I'm fairly confident this is only used by the editor.
So maybe that's also why it's not complaining, but the editor is giving the error.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I just think it'd be nice if there was a single source of truth, so to speak, rather than having to make these changes in multiple places, which I guess is why and how it got missed in the first place. So I've made that change. So if we go in here now and reload this. Again, it sort of makes me wonder about how the spec, CI schema spec. I started to look at this and it just, blew my mind a little bit, but I didn't look in that much detail. Right, so let's just see if this is fixed. So if we now add a artifacts, not that, reports, browser performance. Looks happy to me. So we'll make that recommendation on the MR, I think, in a minute. But what do we want to do? We want to have a look at what kind of testing do we currently do, we probably want to see if we can even write a failing test before we apply the fix potentially. So we've got JSON positive tests legacy. JSON negative tests legacy, YAML positive tests, YAML negative tests. So we've got an artifacts YAML, so maybe we should look at that and see what we've got in there.
Yeah, I'm just linking you the documentation that was given to the author, just so you can see what we're showing them in the docs about our docs about testing this.
Great, thank you. So this is how to verify the changes, which is perfect because that's what we did. Right, the specs. All of the CI specs are in spec front end editor schema CI. Spec front end editor schema CI. Yes. Legacy tests in JSON, but we recommend writing them in YAML. Good, because that's where we've ended up. So positive and negative tests. Snippets of CI/CD configuration code that you use the schema keywords as intended. So yeah, awesome. We'll start with a negative test. And yeah, go from there. So if a YAML test does not exist for the specified keyword, write both positive and negative to highlight different kinds of it. If you create a new file, import them into that and run it by that. Awesome. Well, that looks good. So I'm going to start by running that, see if my environment's even set up. It might need a minute because I've just done a GDK update. Well, that looks promising for you. Well, actually, it doesn't look promising. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to revert this change. Whoops. Did I duplicate? Yeah, I must have. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm going to revert all that back to how it was. Just make sure that all those tests are still passing. What I want is to make the tests fail first and then hopefully fix this, and then hopefully the tests will pass. So, okay, valid artifacts reports clone, valid artifacts when. Oh wow, there's really not a lot in here, is there?
Yeah. This is where I got to, and I thought this looked pretty barren, and I was wondering if the tests were found anywhere else, but this is as far as I got.
So what we'll do, we'll try and stick to alphabetical, maybe. So we'll do a valid one. So I don't quite understand. I guess this is like a name for the test. So we'll sort of say.
Could it be that there's already an existing legacy test in JSON?
Worth me checking. Good idea. Thank you, Marco. Legacy. I don't see anything for artifacts. Default, no additional properties, job variables, release links, variables, retry. I don't see anything. So I'm gonna start with right. So yeah, let's string paths and globs. So that's interesting. Let me just look at the Cyclone. Right, perfect. So that supports the same type of syntax. So I should pretty much be able to copy that, paste it in there, and I'm going to say, I'm going to start. So this should fail. Oops. So hopefully when I run this test, it should fail. Good. And what's the artifact YAML? Errors. String pass must not have additional parameters. Okay, and then what I also want to do, which I hope is going to create another failure, is to...
There's an existing test on the JSON on the positive tests.
JSON positive in which?
It's inside gitlab-ci.json. If you search for performance.
So this should break, shouldn't it? Yeah, I'm going to leave this, and then I'm going to see it fail in a minute, right? When I fix it, if that makes sense. So I've added this. This we know is failing. This is the positive tests artifact. So if we go negative tests artifacts in here. So what we should expect is if I copy this. And so, do I really need to go that crazy? Maybe I just do invalid artifact reports performance, and I'm going to try and keep it alphabetical. I don't think I'm going to do all these, no paths, etc., because we're testing the reference which we've already tested. I just want to make sure that browser reference. So sorry, that one should be performance. So we should now get 2 failures. No, we don't, because I haven't. So that's failing, but that's no, because that should currently. But no, I'll get there in a minute. Hopefully, you see what I'm doing here. Now we should get 2 failures. Perfect. So when we change the schema, we should then see that those 2 pass. The JSON stuff that you found, Marco, should now fail, hopefully. Excellent. So it's possible scheme, but found errors. Must not have additional. This isn't massively helpful, this message, is it? Could really do with giving us a little bit more to work with, but fortunately we do know that it's in here. Change this. LMNOP. No, this isn't alphabetical either, I don't think.
There are more.
Oh, what's the keyboard shortcut on edit, replace performance with browser performance. Skip. I think that's it, isn't it? Boom. So the point is, though, I guess I should remove it from here, right? Because this is legacy. Now we've added it to the new YAML. I don't think we really need it in the legacy test anymore. What do you think?
I mean, the docs are saying write all new tests in YAML.
Marco, happy with that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Seems like a nice one to give someone for hackathon, right? Migrating some of this stuff out from the JSON to the YAML.
There's a lot of tests to migrate.
Slow and steady. Right. So yeah, I'm reasonably happy with that. So let's just have a look at what we've ended up with. So I would say a considerably easier fix, change, whatever you want to call it, to the actual code itself, the schema file, by just changing the performance keyword to browser performance. as opposed to having to introduce a whole new block. Also, by leveraging the existing kind of reference, whatever you want to call it, definition of string file list, means that we don't have to explicitly state that it can accept a string or an array. And then we remove the 2 examples from the old legacy JSON tests, and we add a negative test for the old, no longer valid performance syntax, and we add some positive tests for artifacts. I've cocked up very slightly there. Artifacts.yaml positive. I didn't update this. Oh.
Should we also include a positive test with an explicit array instead of the column and list in the YAML, or is that test in the YAML?
So you mean more like it's negative, so more like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd be happy to add one of those. I don't see why not. So what's the one that I've... I shouldn't have done that, should I? What are we going to call this one? Browser performance. What do you call this? Array?
File array, string array. Don't know.
I don't know what the difference between this type of array and this type of array is.
There are 2 arrays there on the test name.
Oh yeah, sorry. But yeah, so maybe the reviewer or maintainer or someone will come up with a better naming for that. But let's see if that still passes. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, I don't know. Do you think we should just leave that as a diff, so that the author can apply it and provide their own feedback, or do you think there's anything more to be done there, or?
I think that's, working with the author on seeing what was done here. We can also link them this stream too,
Absolutely.
so that they can go
Yep.
through it. I think one thing that stands out is that, this is a first-time contributor and making what seemed like a simple change, but it ended up being kind of going down the rabbit hole here with the tests. So, turning this to you, Lee, what should a first-time contributor do if they're in the situation where they're asked to write these tests? How could they get help for getting assistance here?
Or on the spot, great question. I mean, this seems like the best forum and opportunity and kind of way to handle that, right? That, had we been able to get them on this stream as well, that probably would have been a great opportunity. This one, I think maybe there was a bit of missed opportunity in terms of when we first looked. So I'm just gonna, I know I'm not sharing my screen anymore, but have a look at when. So they mentioned tests. So Brian was the first one to take a bit of a look at it, but maybe we could have clocked the fact, if we understood a bit better why this change was being made, that it was because of a change rather than an addition. It might have been more obvious immediately that, well, we probably don't need to be adding to this schema file. We probably need to be changing something in this schema file. And the same would apply with the tests, right? That it would make you more likely to think, well, there may already be tests. and we probably just need to change them. So what would have happened if instead of adding that new block to the schema, if we changed the schema and pushed it up, we would have got some failed pipelines, and then we would have started digging, and then it's hard to know up front right away that like if you sort of showed me this merge request, sorry, not the merge request, but the issue, I think I would have had to go through exactly this process that we've just gone through now, albeit that we've only been on for half an hour, so it's pretty good going, in all honesty. But yeah, I think it's having a stab, and it looks like a great effort, if you know what I mean. But then, like just working with the team, and the coaches to kind of understand. I think my process is always to try and find something similar. If ever I'm adding something or changing something, I will look elsewhere and try and say, right, have we already done something like this? And immediately that was where we found those cyclone tests, the negative and positive ones. It was where we found that there was already that definition for a array or a string, list of files, etc. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful at all or not.
Right, and I think maybe also just using the GitLab bot help command to try to get somebody from a team member to take a look. And I think we're still trying to promote using the Discord community. I know we did try with this one. We couldn't when we posted it in Discord. We didn't get any hits on it. But I think moving forward, continuing to try to pair people up through the Discord community to try and do sessions like this, or just get extra eyes on an MR.
Definitely. And at the moment, I would say we've probably got like maybe 4 or 5 quite active contributors on Discord. I think we're going to build on that, and hopefully once we have a slightly bigger pool, more sets of eyes, someone's more likely to pick it up. But I definitely hugely appreciate any effort that anyone goes to raise a merge request in the first place and have a stab at it. So it's definitely the right approach, and I'm sure we will be 100 times more forthcoming to help somebody at that stage than if someone was just coming saying, how can I do X? As much as we would definitely try and help them, the fact that we've already got a merge request to work with, and we already had some feedback and some links and bits and pieces, made it 100 times easier.
Yeah, and I think that the author did have an issue initially, but then went ahead and made this initial merge request, and I think that's what really helped get more eyes on it, rather than leaving it as an issue, creating the initial merge request. Even though we've changed it around, that's what kind of got the ball rolling.
I'm just going to have a look, and I will share my screen if we did what I hope we did. Our little automation that we created. Let's have a look.
Yeah, but in general, opening an MR only to ask for help is a good idea.
Absolutely. I'm just going to share, because this is one of our recent-ish automations where we now actually encourage that, and sort of say, please triage it. We'll take a look. However, everyone can contribute. We welcome you to work on the proposed change. Try and spin up that merge request yourself. So it's awesome to see that we're encouraging that on the issue, and that's actually what happened in this instance. So, for me, this is I don't know if it took a little bit longer than we would have liked. So it's a month. Towards the end of November. So yeah, maybe it would have been nice if we got eyes on it a little bit quicker. But it seems like quite a nice, a good process, and hopefully the feedback's positive once we get it through and across the line.
Yeah, and I think another takeaway is any contributors out there, even if you're not sure about something, getting stuck, or you don't want to write the tests, just making the initial MR and then getting some help and assistance to carry it over the finish line. That's the right approach.
Absolutely.
Is there any report or something like that of MRs that need help from the team, so that maybe us from the community, we can also help the team get through those?
So
So
you
we
mean to
can
be more
yes.
proactive and be able to kind of see a list of the main thing. Forgive me, Daniel, because you maybe might have beat me to this. We get a weekly issue with, I guess, would you call it like stale community merge requests? That's the immediate thing that would jump to mind. Let me just share that now and then let Daniel talk for a minute. I closed one today, so community. Now I've got to try and find it.
Well, just to explain a little bit, contributor success team does get these reports coming in with, stale MRs, whether they're idle or whether just haven't had a human response, for a certain amount of time. We also try to look into ones that are stuck in development and I haven't been moved to ready for review. But we're still kind of working on that workflow and process to try to track down merge requests that are, why are they stuck? Is it missing tests? Is it something that the author hasn't figured out? How can we identify why they're stuck and how can we help them move along to being ready for review? It's definitely part of our workflow right now to address that so we can hit more of these.
Yeah, this is an example of one of the reports. So we've got merge requests from first-time contributors which haven't had any interaction in the last 7 days, and merge requests that have been idle for 28 days.
Do you want to share your screen or is it confidential?
I thought I was, if I was totally honest, but I didn't press the right button. Forgive me. This is what I was talking about. As far as I know, this is public. Daniel, slap me immediately if it's not.
It's marked not confidential, so it should be public. You should be good.
Awesome. And this is generated. Oh, that's a shame. For more information, quite often we would have a link on here, but this will be the Triage Ops project that's generating this. So, like, if you wanted to add yourself as like a CC or an assignee, or whatever it is, but it's not the be all and end all because obviously it's only got these 2 fairly specific criteria. I'm just trying to think what else. Obviously, if somebody asks the bot for help, it picks someone specific, if that makes sense, a merge request coach. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I really specifically seek out at the moment. I think Daniel mentioned that we've got some sort of dashboards and metrics and whatnot that, oh, someone's watching along. I didn't see them there. Hello. So yeah, I think that's a good one. As I say, Marco, like I think every Monday sort of early morning it's created. So if you want to either add yourself to that or seek it out, if I post a link to that one, where it's best, I'll post it in Discord for now. Then you'll be able to figure out where, if you want to sort of subscribe to it, or but yeah, I guess it'll be another one where we continually improve the bot messaging and the merge request messaging and the handbook and the contributor guides and everything to more and more lead to, I hope, Discord. Maybe like a I don't know what they call it, like a sort of 2-pronged approach, because I do like the merge request being the single source of truth. So having a relevant label and notes on there. So again, I'll try and take the time to write up, albeit that we've obviously can just link to this video. So that does save us a bit of work, but I always like to try and make sure that the merge request has got notes. So there's definitely a few community members I've been working with recently where we've had calls like this, or we've gone backwards and forwards on Discord and sort of solved some problems, and I always try and add some notes to the merge request to make sure that anyone else, whether it's team members or wider community or even the author themselves, in a week or a month's time can remember what's been discussed, where we're at, and who and what and when.
Well,
Awesome.
that's great. I appreciate all your work jumping in on this one, Lee.
And
doing all
thanks
this.
for sort of bringing it to my attention. Sorry I missed it the first time round. Like hopefully we'll kind of continue a similar approach, and some of them will get picked up on Discord more quickly, and others might need a bit of a chase. But hopefully we all learned something today. I certainly did. So.
Yeah, and great to have you on here, Marco, as well. This was really fun.
Absolutely.
Getting the community involved. And thanks again to the author for putting this merge request and issue together. And hope this stream is helpful to look through to see what was done. And thanks again for willing to take on the assistance and let us help support your contributions.
Absolutely. Have a great day all. Speak to you soon. Catch you later.